Talking about the Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the president of the Russia and who died just before 3 days, 3/8/2022, and he was the follower of the mixed economy, and that economy was taken idea from the India, from the Rajiv Gandhi times. He was also the made treaty among the NATO and Soviet Union. He he just he didn't follow the rule of the communist. Even there was the two rules were running. First was the capitalism and second was the communism. And Russia was the follower of the communist policy, and that's why this war running between two alliances. First one is the American and second one is the Russian. And Russian communist policy were not spread most of the world. Even the American democratical policy was spread in all over world. And because of this, what happened is there, America did something hard for the Russia, and Soviet Union were broken down at the time of Gorbachev because his liberal policy. And even we see that because of the NATO and the Ukraine become one part of the world of the Russian. And from that time, the Russia and America would started fighting. If we see in a second way, what did you find? You find that there was the Afghanistan, there was the fighting between Russia and Afghanistan. And in 1991, the Americans made, there was a Taliban, and that Taliban was fighting with Russia and decreasing the power of Russian. And Russian had lost even in the economy, and because of the economy, what happened is there, the result of was very hard in Russian peoples, and they were suffering from the suicide, homicides, and many other problems. If we look the picture, that what did you find? Just Americans want to establish capitalization and Russian want to establish communism. But communism and the capitalism both are fighting together, and because of the fighting, what happened is there, the world were divided into two parts, and many parts who were supporting of the Russia and other parts who were supporting of the America even was succeeded because of his democratical policy. And even in those country, democracy is there where his economical policy were running. And the Russian who was following communist policy, and this policy were not spreading in all over the world. Even Russia has played a game with Cuba, and Cuba who was the follower of the communist policy, and he fought with the Americans, and he's disturbed many times till Fidel Castro, who was the president of the Cuba, and he disturbed the Americans at long. Through this policy, what happened is there, they would maintain their position of the power in the world. And but when there was the gap, between the gap, what happened is then the China entered in this two warriors, and he made his own policy. He made good relation with the Europeans and American, and he took benefits. After that, what happened is there, China becomes more powerful, and Russia become dominant power in the world. And when second time, when Americans came in Asia, and he was fighting with the Afghanistan, then Russia again played that policy, what policy had played by American in Afghanistan, and he just supported the Talibanis, and Talibanis made defeated to the Americans. American ran away. Then after we see in Iraq, there is also the two types of the peoples. One is the Syrians, one is the Shia people, and one is the Sunni peoples. One Shia is the supporter of the Russia, and Sunni is the supporter of the America. And the Shia and Sunni, majority of the peoples of the Sunnis, and left are the Shias people. Those Shias country who was part of the Russia, and the Sunnis peoples were part of the America. And America, taking of these peoples, America always played the game in a Middle East. If you see Tunisia, if you see Syria, the Syria crisis, either you talk about the Islamic State, whatever, they were the part of the Russian diplomacy. And these wars had been running from many years. And result was that sometimes Russia was fallen down and sometimes Americans were fallen down. But in this situation, the historical war is running in Ukraine, because Russia and China go together and they become most powerful country. And nowadays, because of the pandemic of Corona, COVID-19, America has lost his power. That's why he was playing diplomacy in the backside. If we say that this is the proxy war, and the starting of the proxy war came from the Rama's time, who played the proxy war, and that proxy war running in Ukraine. America supported of the Ukraine, even Russia was supported by this Shias country and China also. And result is that what the horrific situation is going on in Ukraine, we can watch there. Then we talk about the Berlin Wall. This is the one point is here, Berlin Wall. What is the Berlin Wall? Berlin Wall, the part of the German, and German breaking down this Berlin Wall. And from breaking, what happened is there two ideas came out of the property of the right and the human rights. Trampling of the human rights. Two rights came from there. And after that, what happened is there, we see that there are these two rules possessing in the world. One is the capitalism, second is the communism. And most of the country nowadays inflating from the capitalism. That's why America and European country, they were the most follower of the capitalism, and through this capitalism they would like to command over world. And Russia was not capability. Even when he was started this communist policy, he was just fight with any other country. He involved in the country of the fighting, and because of the result that there was the sanction is there, and because of the sanction he has lost his economical capacity. If you other side, what you see, what did you find? You find that this Mikhail Gorbachev, he was following that mixed economy, and that mix was the better for the liberal way, but not the better for in nationalist way. If we see that on that time, what happened is that Russians had lost its a position, and they were not able to command as a Soviet Rus. They were commanding as a simple country, and result is that Russia was paralyzed in many time later. But after when Putin came on the throne, he just started to make his power through its a capacity and its a courage, and he just played a different diplomatical way. Just he was backing to Israel from the Lebanon, and he played some rules and regulation through Turkey and many other countries. If we see in the Middle East, he just play role in Russia, and he was just commanding of the many country from the Syria, and where his weapons and artificiaries are running many times later. After we see that, what did you find? Nowadays, through this diplomacy, many countries come to India that you just come to me, not go through Russia. And that's why if you see that 3 or 4, there is the Australia meeting through the escort, and these were the also policy of the this Russian diplomacy. That's all.